Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to Pretty Brown Vegan, the place for plant-based comfort foods. If you guys are new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you don't miss out on future uploads. Today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to make this vegan chicken pot pie completely from scratch. We will be making the crust and the filling all from scratch. So if you guys are interested, go ahead and stay tuned. So we are going to go ahead and get started with our pie crust. I am using Country Crock plant butter, but you guys can use whatever plant butter you prefer. We're just going to go ahead and cut this into some rough cubes, and then I'm going to put it in a bowl and pop this in the freezer so that it stays nice and cold. All right, so just go ahead and pop that in the freezer, and we're gonna go ahead and get started on our dry ingredients. I'm using flour, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of salt. If I was making this pie crust for an actual pie, I would also add in some vanilla as well. And so we're just gonna go ahead and get all of those tossed together. And because I have long nails, I am using a glove, but I really hate making pie crust with gloves on. I just feel like I need to get my hands in there and just get that butter broken up. We're gonna take that cold butter out of the freezer and we're just gonna break it up into the flour by hand. So just break it up until the chunks get smaller. What I learned when I was in culinary school is that everything should be a pea-shaped size amount of the butter. But for me, I like a lot bigger chunks. I want to be able to see that butter when you roll out the crust. I need you to see the butter. That just creates some nice flakes, and it just makes sure that the crust is nice and just flaky and delicious. But just go ahead and just break it up by hand in the flour, mix it up. And this is about the consistency I was going for. I like, again, my butter chunks to be a little bit bigger. And then I just add in a splash of milk. You just add in a little bit at a time, but honestly, I added in just the right amount. I believe I used maybe just under a tablespoon. It's just really up to you. You can see here, I'm getting frustrated with these gloves. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. You know, it's starting to come together, but I had to let the glove had to go. So I just get in there and just make sure it comes together and forms into a nice ball. Don't add too much water. You don't want it to be wet. You just want it to be at the right consistency where everything is sticking together. Boom, and there we have it. So then we are just going to put that in some plastic wrap, press it out into a disc so it's a little bit flat so that it'll be easier to roll out when it's time. So like I said, you just put it in there and then you just start pressing it down so that it is in a nice flat disc. And then I just come around and smooth those edges too, so it doesn't like break apart when you're rolling it out, and it just sets into a nice firm ball. And then as you guys will see here, when I pick it up, you can see the butter just working throughout the pie crust itself, and then just how you know it's just going to be perfect. It's going to be nice and flaky. And so pop that into the fridge, and while that's in the fridge, we're going to start working on our other ingredients. For the chicken today, I am using the Gardein scallopini breasts. These are already lightly seasoned, but I am going to come in here with some seasoning as well. But since they're frozen, I cook them halfway through in my air fryer. It just avoids some extra oil and everything. I just put them in the air fryer. And then I hit them with my own seasoning. I just use my standard seasonings that I like to season chicken with here at this point. I use a little sea salt, some black pepper, some onion powder, some garlic powder. I may have also came in here with a little bit of paprika as well, possibly smoked paprika. Just those are my staple seasonings that I use on pretty much every video and everything that I cook. You need some salt, pepper, some onion powder, some garlic powder. Those are the basics. So just go ahead and season with your basics that you love on each side, and then I put it back into the air fryer to finish cooking. Okay, and then once those are done, I just go ahead and cut them up into some cubes, some nice little chunks, bite-sized chunks, so that they'll be ready to go into the pot pie when we're ready to fill it up. So just go ahead and you can shred it, or you can just cut them into chunks like I did, but just go ahead and get those cut into some bite-sized pieces, and then we're gonna set those aside and start working on our veggies after this step. And this is one of my favorite chicken substitutes, but you guys can use like jackfruit. Just need to season that up maybe with some vegan chicken bouillon and stuff like that. But this here, it just gives me a really like chickeny vibe. You guys can see the texture on this. And then just set that to the side. We're going to get started on our veggies. I am using butter today instead of oil. So just go ahead and melt down a generous amount of butter. And then I'm coming in with some carrot and peas here, just using a frozen bag. You guys can use fresh carrots and peas if you want, but I just went ahead and grabbed some frozen mix. And then I also use frozen celery. Now this here, I really wish I would have used fresh celery. I just feel like it just gives it a different vibe. But I used a frozen celery mix as well, and I just went ahead and added this in and tossed this up in the butter. And then with the veggies, I just cook them until they're nice and heated through. I do season every component of my dish when I cook, so I do hit them with a little bit of sea salt and black pepper as well. But just cook them up until they are nice and well done, and then I remove those from the heat and set them to the side as well. I just feel like every component of your dish needs to be well seasoned. It just makes everything come together nice and delicious, honestly. Okay, and so back into that same pot, I'm just adding in a little bit more butter, and this is going to be the base of our gravy, I would say. So just go ahead and melt down some butter, and then we're going to add in some freshly chopped onion. I am using a white onion, but you guys can use a yellow onion, sweet onion, whatever onion you prefer. And then just go ahead and cook those through until they're nice and slightly translucent and start becoming a bit fragrant. And then I do season my onions as well. On my onions, I am using Poultry Seasoning. And I also use a little bit of celery salt as well to make up for the fact that I did use frozen celery instead of fresh. I use some celery salt seasoning in here. And I also use a little bit of sea salt, and I believe I come in here with some black pepper as well, because you know those are basic staples when you are seasoning: sea salt and black pepper. If you don't do anything else, baby, you need some sea salt and some pepper, but the other seasonings as well, just to give it a nice flavor and a base for our gravy. And we're going to go ahead and make a roux by adding in some flour in here. And then we're going to go ahead and add in some vegetable broth. And that's starting to thicken up a bit, so I add in a little bit more broth. The consistency that I'm going for is not too thick, not too thin. In order to make that taste more like a chicken pot pie, I add in a cube of this vegan chicken bouillon and just get that blended in here as well. We're going for a nice consistency. You guys will see when I actually fill up the chicken pot pie the consistency that it turned out to be. I am using some coconut milk as well here. Just make sure everything is nice and coming together. And taste your filling as well so that it's seasoned to your taste. I did come back in here and add in a little bit additional sea salt and black pepper as well, and a little bit more celery salt too. All right, so I'm setting all of that to the side while I roll out my pie crust here. So I'm gonna put this on a nicely floured surface. This is the pie crust coming out of the fridge. And again, look at those buttery bits in that crust, y'all. It's just gonna be too bomb. So just go ahead and roll it out. Make sure the surface is floured. Make sure your rolling pin is floured as well so that it's not breaking up and it's not sticking. And when I roll each side out a bit, I just like to turn it just to make sure it's not sticking too hard to the surface. And then we're just gonna go ahead and cut each piece out. And I'm making 2 pot pies here, so I just cut out 4 pieces. Okay, so I just fill it up alternatively. I put the pie shell on the bottom and then put in some veggies, put in some chicken, and then put in some more veggies. And then this is the consistency that our gravy turned out to be. And I just generously pour that on top. And then I just put the other piece of the pie crust on top, and then you can just lay it on there. You guys can I use a fork to just kind of put some little grooves in around the edges. You guys can like pinch it and do, you know, whatever kind of little decoration you want on the top of your pot pie. But I just went ahead and took a fork and just pressed out some of the edges here just to give it a little bit of that pot pie vibe. And then I am taking some of that extra coconut milk and brushing it on top. Coconut milk is good to help your pie crust brown. I feel like the vegan butter doesn't brown as well, just using the butter. And I would also like to use just egg, but I didn't have any just egg on hand, but that is good for browning. And then boom, this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. Nice and brown, a nice flaky crust, and it's too bomb. It has all the seasoning that you need. The chicken is the perfect texture and consistency. I really think that everything came together so good. The pie crust is perfect. Look at that. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Comment down below. Let me know if you're going to be giving this a try. And again, if you are not subscribed, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you don't miss out on future uploads. Thank you so much for watching.